Hi, Laura, my friend. Thank you for coming back to the Emotional Leads podcast.
Hello, thanks for having me today. I'm so happy to be here.
Oh, I'm so excited. I know we kind of introduced you at the beginning of the intro coming into the podcast, but you are like superwoman. You're a mom, you're an
So sweet.
author, you're a wife, and you're really into your faith. And I really love that. So I'm excited because we talked back in November of 23.
Was it
It was
November?
November of
Over a
23,
year. Oh
and
my
we
God.
had a great episode on self-love and bringing self-love into our health. And Laura and I are both so connected to that concept. And we decided to get back together again and talk about perfectionism and consistency. And I would love to hear from you because this is actually part of your story. If you'll give
Mhm.
us a little background again, even though everyone can go back, you're going to love that episode. Go back to episode 30. I would love for you to catch everybody up on, a little bit of your background because perfectionism plays a part in this.
Oh, it does. And well, first of all, I want to say congratulations to you because I know episode 100 is soon, correct?
It's going to be in the new year. This will be probably 89, the
Wow.
episode we're doing today, somewhere around there, 89, 90. Yes. So
Well,
thank you.
very
Congratulations to you. Live Healthy with Laura is you had over 100 episodes already.
yeah. Live Healthy Laura podcast. But it's funny because when the moment you said perfectionism, I thought about podcasting. It's not just health. I've had to really break up with perfectionism in every area of life to show up fully and authentically as this person God made me to be. Because I think the world, a lot of us are stagnant because we are aiming for this A plus plus, way to show that this A plus in every category, I should say, and it's keeping us stuck because we're almost exhausted before we get started, and it's like we already feel like a failure. We already feel like a salmon swimming upstream. And I really, in John 10:10 in the Bible, it says, I came to give you a full life. I don't believe feeling like we're constantly drowning is a full life. And so what I have found with perfectionism and back in my eating disorder days when I was 19, is I was always at a deficit in some way. I was always feeling behind. It was this whole cycle of punishment and reward, which, as you and I know, that is our diet culture, right? And actually just spoke to a client this morning about it. The fact that there's this appeal, especially in January, to hit this big red reset button and go check every box and go to the gym 5 times a week. And now I'm going to be in the kitchen and now I'm going to do all these things. And I always say, slow and steady wins the race. And let's be real. If we're not doing any of it today, we're not going to be doing all of it January 1st. We need to start slow. And I think when we give ourselves grace, I actually aim for a B in my life. It's something I do. I don't aim for an A anymore. I aim for a B minus. I'm good. Like if I try my best and it's a B, I'm happy with that because I know it's allowing me to be consistent. Perfectionism is always going to be something that will hold me back. So it's really just the framework mentally, right? Of, what do I expect of myself? I expect the best out of myself, but that's not going to always be, I'm going to mess up, right? I'm going to have moments, I'm going to have hard days, and that's okay. Lifestyle allows for life to happen.
That's really powerful. And I love the verse that you brought in because also Jesus rested. He
Oh my God,
did.
he
And
did.
he did in order to be his best for his teachings and everyone around him. And I love that we can bring faith into this. What do you think is happening with women? What are they sabotaging? When they think they're gaining by doing every single thing, what are they actually sabotaging in their lives?
Their peace, absolutely their peace. I really believe, first of all, I think I'll go back to Jesus resting. I just talked about this exact story this morning. So it's funny you said that about, when he was taking a nap on the boat. If you notice, he didn't stop and ask permission, first and foremost. He didn't say, "Hey, disciples, do you mind if I go take a nap?" And they were all yapping at him like a toddler can yap at us, or somebody that we love will always be willing to take from us. he didn't ask permission. He tuned into his body and he knew he needed rest in his physical form. I love that example, first and foremost, because I will say, I do think a lot of the times we wait for others to be the wind to our sails. And part of losing our peace is we're waiting for others around us, even our loving husbands or kids, to get the people that we love the most, to get the picture and give us this permission and give us this green light. And I think sometimes if we just take initiative to realize, okay, I'm going to put my oxygen mask on first, and that will allow me to love you that much more, and we don't ask permission anymore. I think that's one way to regain our peace, is just to really take ownership and say, guys, this is how mommy starts her day. This is how I end my day. And, but I think we lose our peace because, first of all, what plan are we trying to follow? If it's a plan on the internet, and not one like, you and I design for our clients individually, but I always say, we're aiming for to check boxes that somebody else designed. But what is internally, if we tune into our own body and we ask God, well, what do we need as individuals? It very likely differs from somebody else. So I think the reason people lose their peace is they say, okay, I know right now something that's going around is the 75 hard. It's 2 workouts a day. It's this extreme, and it sets you up for failure, right? And so I think if we ask ourselves, well, what really brings me peace? What gives me energy? What allows me to feel excited and passionate about my life? What allows me to truly feel optimally healthy and good? Then that's where we gain a structure about our day. Okay, this is what I need. Here's my 4 non-negotiables. Here's things I need to do. But I think people lose their peace because they're looking at the outside world. They're looking for reels on the internet to tell them what the best morning routine is, but they're forgetting to tune into their own body. And maybe my morning routine's a little different from yours, Kim, and that's okay.
That's really great, because when we talk about individuals, that's one of the most important things that you and I do with the clients
Yes.
is we want women to build their own life,
Mm-hmm.
and not everyone can do it.
Right.
They with the exact same way that everyone else says. And honestly, 75 Hard is the best example you could have given right now.
I couldn't
Who
help
in their who in their life has the time to do that? And if you do, maybe you're a young person who doesn't have a job and kids, or you have a part-time job,
it. Yeah,
or
for sure.
you're just motivated in that moment in your life. I
Mm-hmm.
just gave this example. Having six-pack abs is, if that's a goal of yours, that's okay. That doesn't define who you are, and the
Mm-hmm.
sacrifice that it takes to get there, that is something you get to decide if you want that. But a real life woman who's chasing around after kids, or has teenage kids and driving them around, or is a midlife woman who's put on menopausal weight,
Mm-hmm.
there's a whole new set of values. You
Mm-hmm.
have your own values. And I love that you're talking about what brings me joy,
Yeah.
because there's no joy in feeling like you're failing in everything.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love
I
to go.
Go
Go
ahead. Go
ahead.
ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I love what you said about permission too, because even giving yourself permission to eat when we're constantly in restriction mode, that perfection leads to that binge and emotional eating
Oh
later.
my gosh. It does. And I want to say something that might shock the audience, but something I've learned in my own life. And I try to teach clients this. Sometimes we want to think it's all about doing, but sometimes it's actually about resting. It's not always about doing more. And, yes, being in the kitchen, please meal prep, at least, do your week, plan for your
Mhm.
week, please move your body. But I do think we're forgetting to rest and recharge, and we're overwhelmed. Our nervous system is overwhelmed. And I work with a lot of people with autoimmune disease. And if you look at the foundation of autoimmune disease, the nervous system governs the immune system. And when we're stuck in this fight or flight sympathetic state versus the parasympathetic state, we are, goodness knows, we can't even hear our own body. We can't hear our own voice. We can't hear we can't make sense of that. But also we end up in this inflammatory state. We're sick. We don't feel good. And I think our nervous system is really craving rest in our modern day world, which is, it's this go, 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 check as many boxes as you can mentality. Sometimes I just want to say, I don't think it's always about doing more. Sometimes it's about taking something off your plate just so you can tune into your body. I know for me, I delete social media on the weekends. Friday afternoon, I take a magnesium bath, and my family knows this is mommy's time in the magnesium bath, where she gets in and reads a book or listens to another podcast, instead of my own. and I delete social media just because I found one way to love myself and be in tune and be healthy is to actually clear the space. There's too much noise. And that's why I think we are so out of tune with our own body and so confused.
Yes, we are so disconnected. I
Yeah.
think social media really disconnects us
Mhm.
from listening to our bodies. So that is an amazing observation. I am thinking since this episode is coming out in January, and we're always talking about resolutions, and I actually did on December 30th, is the podcast on having revelations instead of resolutions.
I
I
love
think
that.
I'm going to add this to the list instead of
Yeah.
adding things to your plate. What you said, I want everyone to make a list of things they're going to take off their
Yeah.
plate
I,
for the
mm,
year. And it doesn't have to happen at the beginning of the year. You could be listening to this in some other time of the year in the spring or the summer, and you can make the same list and find that peace. So let's
yeah,
talk about the shame and guilt that comes with that, though.
for
Women
sure.
really seem to struggle and feel guilty. Why do you think there's so much guilt around saying no, having boundaries, taking care of ourselves?
Well, I had a woman in my office crying this morning, actually, to me about this very topic, who's a mom who's feeling like she's always doing something wrong. And, I think we've all been there. I've been there. I think the guilt is there because we do put so much pressure on ourselves. I think God made us to be nurturers, and we are typically empaths, right? So we can look and see pain in others. We can see needs in others. We can see those that need the encouragement, but sometimes we don't look in the mirror and do the same for ourselves, and we don't pause, right, to say, well, wait, what do you need today, Laura? What would make you feel whole today? And I think it's just truly because we're nurturers, and I think it's our knee-jerk reaction to take our own sweater off our back and pass it on. And it's a beautiful thing, but I also believe, not to get hyper spiritual, but I am very spiritual. I do believe the devil is on the prowl, and he does not want to see strong, powerful, healthy women loving on their families, loving on their husbands, loving on others around them. And if he can just burden them enough and tax them out and tax them enough, then he can get them, burn out. He can get them laying flat right where he wants them. So I think we have to really reframe what success means and what healthy means. And we need to know that if we're not cared for, we're not really successful. We're not really healthy. Like, we have work to do, because Mama, You Still Matter. I wrote a whole book on it. It's my second book. We matter, and we need to know we have permission to care for ourselves. But yeah, I will say this: surrounding yourself by women that do work on their health is absolutely transformational, because you do need that support. This morning, my friends and I, after I saw a client, we were like, oh, let's squeeze in an ionic foot bath. I work at an amazing wellness clinic, Naturally Radiant, here at Fredericksburg, Virginia. And we are so busy, but we're like, you know what? It's the week before Christmas. Let's pause and do our ionic foot bath and get a little detox in there. And it felt really good to have friends surrounding me that were just as excited to take a pause and do this. But yeah, it's about, you got to keep the conversation going of you matter.
I appreciate that and bringing up the book because I know that that's really hard for moms to remember that they do matter. And it is interesting the people you surround yourself with. It's an old saying, but when you have people around you, the five people who are really healthy, you'll be the sixth. If
Mm-hmm.
five people are smoking around you, you might be the sixth. And I
Oh,
know
geez.
that's a little extreme, but
No, I don't
um,
believe this. I
it's
don't.
it's really is because
Yeah.
we lift each other up. We have the energy exchange with our friends that are helping us. It's like that friend that is willing to go take a walk instead of go out and have a drink.
Mhm.
It's that friend that is willing to have an inspirational, positive conversation, pull you out of things. We know that when people are commiserating with each other, you can bring everybody down. So I love
Yeah.
that attitude. And the shame and guilt, I think, also comes from, I love the spiritual tie in. I think diet culture and society has really sucked us in so hard, also, that we have an automatic subconscious
Mm.
thought of shame and guilt over not just hustle, but what we're eating, good and bad foods,
Mm.
having permission to take a break and not
Mhm.
have to do everything. We have to control everything. And when you talked about letting go, that's a habit, is to try to control everything around us, and we don't have peace.
It is, in fact, actually one of my New Year resolution, or not resolutions. What am I saying? I don't do like that. I don't like those. One of my on my New Year podcast, one of my tips actually is taking inventory, because I always say, even if you look back at your whole year and you wrote down on one piece of paper everything you did and everything you were committed to, not everything worked in your favor. Some things did, but not everything did. It could have been that workout wasn't really for me, that friend group really wasn't for me, or that, that group was for me, that workout was for me. Those, the way I started meal prepping and eating the more Mediterranean, that really benefited my body. But I think we forget to take inventory, and I think that's when it's like, again, it's back to the constant check-in, but also, like you said, being, I live with an 80-20 mentality. 80% I'm 20, 80% healthy, 20% indulgent, but also just the mindset of, again, I can't say this enough. I aim for a B in my life. That might sound so like, well, that's not very admirable. Well, to me, it is. It's how I actually show up consistently. Because if I didn't ever give myself that room to be human, I would just lay under my covers I wouldn't get up. And so, sorry, I got off topic, but I just wanted to share that. Take inventory. It's so, so important.
I think that's a great idea, and it can happen any time of year. We think that we can only start over on a Monday, the first of the year, and we can take that inventory a monthly basis, a quarterly basis, whenever we need to. Go through in
Mm.
your journal and write that out.
Oh, yeah. And you
I
said
think
good or
that's
bad.
great.
Well, thank you. I said, you said good or bad foods, though. That just, we need to also start understanding that we are bio individuals. Like, so what foods work for me might not work for somebody else. For instance, I can't eat pork, I can't eat green grapes, and I can't eat carrots. Don't ask me why. My body, as of now, does not love them. I don't thrive off them because I am tuned in. These whole foods that are amazing for my kids, that they seem great, impact my gut. They don't like my body doesn't love them. But that's where, foods, yes, we can classify them as medicinal or poisonous, but at the end of the day, we just need to say what allows me to feel optimal and whole. And I think when we look at it as, it's no longer about the number on the scale, it's about a feeling, it's about energy, it's about what gives me the power to go show up for my life. Maybe not 100%, maybe again we're at this B plus, B minus, but we are showing up to the best of our ability. What is that? And I think good and bad, that's a very toxic, our toxic diet culture loves those verbs, right? I mean, those adjectives, but I don't use them for many reasons.
I think that's great. I know. Well, I'll have a client come in and say, I was so bad
Oh
yesterday.
yeah, oh
I'm like,
yeah.
what exactly? Did you, rob a convenience store? And they're like, no, I ate potato chips and a sandwich. I'm like, well, was it good? We have to we have to allow ourselves to have some fun. I love your tie-in with perfectionism and consistency, though. When you change what you're working towards, and it has to do more with your authentic self
Yeah,
and your values and who you are, not what you do,
right.
then it's so much easier to show up and do it.
Hmm.
And I think some people, I'll give an example for working out because I know you have your own routine
Hmm.
also.
Yeah.
People think it's very extreme, and this is not what I expect of my clients. I do work out Monday through Friday, but I don't make myself do five hard workouts in a row. But showing up even on two of those days for only 20 minutes and doing something lighter, for me personally, keeps momentum going. But
Oh
this
my
is where the
God.
values come
Yes.
in. I do Monday through Friday because if I can get at least 4 out of 5 or 5 out of 5 done, my
Hmm.
values are to spend my time with my husband on the weekend. And then
Absolutely.
we have our, I call it the wild card. We can go walking. We can go to the gym together. We could go hiking, but
But
it leaves it
it's
open. It's
organic,
value based.
whatever works. And oh
Mm-hmm.
my gosh, you said momentum. And I just talked again to a client about this, that it is not motivation that shows up first. It is not. It is momentum. You have to get the ball rolling down the hill first. You have to just get started. And that's sometimes the hardest part. But then it's a month later where you're like, you know what? I'm actually feeling really good. Okay, now this motivation click kicks in because I'm feeling good. I'm feeling different. I'm feeling excited about this. I'm feeling like all of a sudden I'm making better choices because we know it's the domino effect, right? Which we don't, it's just, we don't even have to think about it. All of a sudden we start our day off this way and now we're just making better food choices. But it is momentum that shows up first. It's just the actionable steps, the little steps in our day, the habit stacking, right? And then motivation kicks in. One mistake I do see is people are waiting around for this motivation to just show up. And it's never going to feel good getting started on anything. And I can say that very honestly. Even writing a book, there's times where like I know I'm supposed to write another book and I'm working on it, but man, the going can be hard. Like getting going. But you just keep swimming a little bit here, a little bit there. I mean, it's yeah, consistency is so huge for sure.
Well, I want to tie that back to the perfectionism again, because what many of my clients will do is they feel like one, they have to belong to a gym.
Yeah.
Two, they have to do an hour-long workout. And it's not just about working out and food. There's so many more things we could be talking about. This is just an easy example. I think three, they feel like they have to know exactly what they're doing. And when we break down the perfectionism, where you can show up in your pajamas in your house with a set of 10-pound dumbbells and do just two exercises that you know how to do,
Yep.
that's a start and that counts. And we want our wins to be so big because of what we see online and what we see other people doing. We feel like big is the only thing.
I've
And that
been
1%, and I know you talk to your clients about this. How do
yes.
you help them get over that hurdle of having to do it all at the same time?
So, and I really mean this, it's called what I've developed as, and this is what I call it, is the power of 10. And I do this for myself with like laundry, okay, things that I don't want to do. Because I really do enjoy moving. I do enjoy eating. I enjoy healthy meal preps. I hate laundry. That's my kryptonite. So there's something psychological we can do by actually triggering our brain and doing 10 minutes. Typically, you'll end up doing more, but even if it's just those 10 minutes, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. I challenge my clients that hate working out, that literally say they would rather eat glass than work out, to actually wake up in their pajamas, grab their 10-pound dumbbells, turn on some Christmas music, and just do 10 minutes. Okay, great. So we've done 10 minutes there. Now, I don't even know where to get started, Laura. I'm a realtor. I have such a busy life. Okay, can we spend an extra 10 minutes in the kitchen after dinner prepping for the next day? Yeah, I could. I could fill a cooler real quick. I could chop some veggies. I could put, some leftovers away. I can do some things. 10 minutes. I'm going to just set a timer and I'm going to go. So I think when we and I did this the other day, I had a really rough night. My kid had been sick the night before. I had nothing to give, but I know the power of consistency and I show up for myself. I literally did a 10-minute workout and it was all I had to do to give that day. But I was so proud of myself because I keep the ball rolling. Even if it's not very fast, the momentum is there. So I think I love the power of 10. And then it's so funny because I'll have somebody say, well, now I'm doing 15 or some days it's 20. And if it is just 10, I don't feel so guilty. And with perfectionism, my mentality is always this. If you got a nail in your tire, would it make logical or loving sense to go out and slash the other three tires? It would not. But I think in our culture, we're like, I missed a workout. Oh, I overate on the holiday, at grandma's house for Christmas dinner. Let me just go, eat donuts all day and sit around and just feel sad. I'm sorry. No, it makes no logical sense to get out and slash the other three tires. We are going to go to a gas station and fill it up with air. All right. So what do I need to do after a day where I don't feel proud of myself? I don't feel like I did good, okay. I'm going to just move. I'm going to set 10 minutes on the timer and I'm going to do 10 minutes of strength and I'm 10 minutes of prepping. And it's amazing what happens and what the shift I see in my clients when they're like, because we took the hour gym and Lululemon mentality out of my head, and this gourmet lunch out of my, I no longer have to feel like I'm not winning if I don't have five amazing little mini meals a day. Like I'm just aiming for breakfast. I'm starting small. Now I don't feel so overwhelmed. And now I'm motivated to now do the next thing. So I really love the power of 10. That is where and even for myself, laundry, which is sitting over there. I will literally set the timer and say, we're going to do 10 minutes. So,
I love that, Laura. The power of 10 is really amazing. And I will do the same thing. Even when I do workouts, we were camping this weekend and I just
that's
was
so nice.
doing 10 reps here and there of everything. And when I got done, I had 200 reps because every 20 minutes I'd be like, I'm going to do 10 squats, and it's not just the 10 minutes, it's doing something that you can accomplish just a little bit because our
Yeah,
brains are really powerful.
they
We are
are.
wired and we are wired tight. And what
Mhm.
happens is we have this groove in our brain. It's kind of like the old turntable. Luckily, those that came back. So if you're younger, you know what it is.
Yeah, yeah,
And if you get a scratch on a record, the needle stays in that
yeah.
groove.
Oh
So you can
yeah.
stay in the bad groove. And we
Mhm.
don't like good or bad, but you can stay in the
Right,
groove that doesn't serve you, or you
right.
can get into the groove that does. So it's funny you said that about, waking up and not having anything in you. I was just putting in my stories today. I did not sleep well last night. So
Oh,
I
that's
did a
amazing.
shortened version. We know sleep is king. So when you don't sleep well, you don't feel like anything and you
Mhm.
don't have any motivation. You want to eat more, you want to go for sweets and carbs. I get
Mhm.
that. So I stayed with my routine because I mentally need the check mark to
Mhm.
even do 10 minutes of working out.
Yep.
But then I thought, what are the little things that I could do that might keep me a little bit more in my groove? Kept drinking the water. I didn't overdo the caffeine. We want to overcompensate for this
Yep.
imperfection in some pretty drastic ways. So,
Mhm.
over drinking caffeine to make up for that, or
Absolutely.
overeating, and I get it. Sweets, glucose is energy, so our body knows it's not stupid.
You're gonna crave the junk if you're right in a deficit. Absolutely.
Yes.
I love that you're so real and authentic too, because I actually I don't know, did you see my stories yesterday? I shared behind the scenes in my house. I shared my dishes and I told my husband let the raccoons in because I've been so busy with the kids and Christmas and clients, and I was like, I need you to come and help me with these dishes. And but I think it's just being willing to laugh at ourselves and say, you know what, okay, at least I got my workout in, even though my dishes are piling. Like, I'm gonna ask for help and just being honestly giving ourselves permission to just be a willow tree, not an oak tree, and chill to the best of our ability. I broke up with my gym this last year. I now work out at home because speaking about taking inventory, which I share very openly on my podcast too, is I actually realized I was wasting a lot of time driving and a lot of money. And to be honest, my cortisol does not, I don't love working out around a lot of people. I enjoy being in my own space and it's not cute, but I have a face mask on now. At the same time, I'm typically wearing what I slept in, same leggings, why dirty the more laundry. And my husband and I now have worked it out where he takes the kids to school. So this is just what works for me. It's not Lululemon in a gym for an hour. And I don't care because for me, it allows me to be consistent and I get a little skincare at the same time. But it's always like what I love to do is say, I like to get really creative and excited. Ooh, I bet I could park far away and get a few steps. Between every virtual client on Wednesdays, I go out in my living room and do 15 push ups, 15 squats, just because I like to get the blood flowing. It's the little things that really allow us to be these healthy, vibrant humans. And I think also just laughing at ourselves when things go south and saying, well, I know my arsenal. I know what to go back to. And I told a client this today that the gift we're giving ourselves is resiliency. And we realize over time, you know what? This situation would have kept me down a lot longer a year ago. But now you said sleep. I'm really focusing on sleep this year. I got my ordering. I'm so on top of it. And now I'm even healthier than I was a year ago, which I'm really proud to say. Um, I don't sleep perfectly every night. I understand, but makes a difference. It's amazing just the domino effect. And when we just take the stress out of it and we just aim for those little wins.
I love your workout routine. And it's funny because you and I started to talk about this on the first episode that we did
Yeah,
together.
yeah,
And I was finding the same thing. I was finding that even though I joined a gym with Mike, my husband,
yeah,
I loved going with him. but I didn't love the fact that we were on different schedules. He can work out in the afternoon and somehow
Yeah.
is able to muster up the energy.
I
I'm a
can't.
morning workout person. I wake up and
Oh,
I'm wide awake.
I love my
I
morning.
love my coffee, but I could probably go without it. And I like to go upstairs in
Yes.
mismatched workout clothes, no makeup. I don't want to be done up. I don't want to worry about what I look like. I don't want to run into people. I put my podcast on, not necessarily my podcast. I put
No,
my
no, right.
podcast, meaning anybody's, Laura's, other people's,
Yeah.
and
You have a great
and I'm
podcast.
barefoot. I love to work out
I
barefoot.
do too. I'm barefoot.
Yeah.
I look homeless, I'll say, and I work out and I love it. And I add a face mask to it. My husband's like, God bless. I mean, the things I do, the LED,
Mm.
the red light therapy and the mask and all the things. But you know what? I said this to somebody the other day. What I've learned the older I've gotten is, besides church, home for me is one of the most healing places I can be. And I love my job so much, so I'll put them at third. But I do believe that having a healthy foundation in a home and a healthy environment and working on your health in a place that you feel safe, when you and I give, we're always giving back to others. And I think for anybody listening that feels like their job is to give back, plus they're a mom, plus they're a wife, one of the healthiest things is finding place to be alone, finding time to just be with yourself. Because how can you get to know a body that you are never alone with? And I think it's really important to take that time to journal or work out on your own and just be still. It's just something I've learned this year, that I actually really enjoy working out alone.
I love that. And I think knowing ourselves is so important. Home is very important. Being alone is very important. We can't get to know ourselves and our preferences, and we can't learn to put those boundaries up for our needs if we are constantly going and not have any space to do that. So that's really
Absolutely.
powerful. Laura, I would love it if you would share, even if it's things you've already brought up. But
Yeah.
here's the woman who's moving into this new year. She's thinking about all these things, the pressure to have all these resolutions. She's got
Mhm.
the pressure to be, she doesn't even know she's trying to be perfect. She's just doing it. It's part of the culture. It's part of, who she is and everyone around her. Do you have two or three tips that are very basic and simple that this woman, you who are listening, this woman can just get started to start feeling that peace that you and I feel?
Yeah. So my first one is always put, anything you're starting, you need to ask yourself, can I do this the rest of my life? It is the number one principle in my book, because if I just talked to somebody about this today too, actually. If you look at The Biggest Loser, for example, they did a whole documentary on them, and they followed them, and they saw that they were not able to continue. Years down the road, they had gained the weight back. Many of them, they were in a really hard place. Extremes are never going to be achievable long term, and so you need to ask yourself, okay, well, yeah, I can move my body 10 minutes a day, right? But can I really commit to, let's two workouts a day in the 75 hard? No. So I'm actually not going to start that. So my tip first, that's my first tip, is just put it through that strainer of, wait, is this achievable for the rest of my life? um Tip number two really is, ask yourself, am I operating from a place of love or hate? And I can't stress that enough. But, you know, when it comes down to, I want to be in this size, or I need to feel this way by the summer, or look this way by the summer, are you choosing to do what you're doing from a place of love, or are you berating? Because I don't believe you can berate yourself and hate yourself to healthy. Because you might get a number on the scale, but you're not truly healthy if there's not love involved. And so, where ask yourself this, actually, I am eating this meal right now and drinking this water because I love myself and I truly want to feel good and healthy. I am moving not for the number, but because I want to, I love myself, and I know this is good for me. I know going to sleep early, not going out too late, for me, giving up alcohol a couple of years ago, I know that's out of love. But years ago, with my eating disorder, a lot of it was just constant ridicule. I was again, back to the punishment reward cycle. It wasn't from a place of love. So, and then so we have, don't start telling me today, you can't do the rest of your life. Operate from a place of love, and remember, you are unique, and always be willing to just will always focus on small attainable little steps, little lifestyle hacks throughout your day, and develop them based on what your body's asking of you, because what your best friend Cindy might be doing might not be what your body needs. The way she's eating might not be the way you need to eat. I do think there's obviously certain basics. I do believe we need to, for me, I really believe we need to eat within that hour. I think there's a lot we can do for our adrenal glands. You talk about caffeine. I have a limit with that as well. But after that, we do need to tune in and realize my body's speaking to me all day long. So I'm going to make small little changes, and I'm not going to stress about the big things, because the big things, oh my gosh, I dropped 50 pounds, that will come if it's meant to come for you. But that is not the number one goal. So yeah, just really start small and then keep it up. Keep it up, consistency.
Those are fantastic. I love this is why I wanted you on the episode.
Aw,
You have such practical but loving ways of helping our bodies, because we both know from our backgrounds
yeah,
that there was a lot of punishment to get what we wanted. And I
absolutely.
appreciate doing things out of love, not out of hate. That's so wonderful. Laura, you always bring such a peaceful sense of healthiness to the show. I really appreciate you. I would love for people to be able to find you. So please
Yeah.
talk about where are you, and talk about your books too, please.
Aw, you're so kind. Thank you. So I am at Live Healthy with Laura on all platforms. Well, I should say Instagram and Facebook. I don't have Twitter. Hashtag mental health. For me, it's just I'm at my capacity. So I have Instagram, Live Healthy with Laura, Facebook, Live Healthy with Laura. My website is livehealthywithlaura.com. I'm the founder of Live Healthy with Laura LLC. So I have my own, nutritional consulting company here in Virginia. And then my books, I have 3 books. My first one is Live Healthy with Laura, and you can't see, but I'm pointing to it behind me. I have that's my 10 lifestyle principles, and 30 of my original recipes, a 5-day sample meal plan just to get you started and feeling good in the kitchen. And then I have my second book. That's Mama You Still Matter. It's a mother's guilt-free guide to physical, mental, and spiritual self-care. I really believe that if we can, we can't pour from an empty cup. So that is just really giving the mom permission to care for herself and not ask permission, right? Like in a loving way, we're just going to do it, right? And then number 3 is a glass half full. And it's basically about how tuning into God's truth can change our perspective, change our life. It's really learning it's about perspective, but it's about learning how to dance in the rain. It's learning to look for the beauty in every hard situation and see the silver lining, because gratitude is truly everything in my life. It's something that's really strengthened me and allowed me to show up in a way that I'm able to. And then my 4th book I am working on, which is hopefully coming out October 2025, and that is Just Jump. So it's an overthinker's guide to getting unstuck, gaining traction, and taking chances. So all my books are on Barnes and Noble, Amazon, and most places wherever books are sold. And I also,
That's
my podcast, what am I saying? The Live Healthy with Laura podcast on Apple, on Spotify. Every Monday I drop an episode, and it's very similar conversations. I also have some really amazing guests, and Kim is coming back on soon, which I'm so excited.
I'm really excited about that too. And I love your podcast. In fact, you were one of the first people to help inspire me to get
Oh,
started, which I
I'm
really
so
appreciate, which
glad.
is why you're past 100 and I'm coming up behind you.
That's so exciting.
Uh,
I love that we started around the same time. That's so cool.
we did, and
We
it's
really
been
hit it off.
fun. And I love that. And that was what I was going to say is thank you so much for being here, not only being such an amazing coach for women, but you always bring in peace and love and help people change their lives in such a way that they really become great people and grow, not just lose weight, because as you said, that's really the byproduct. So thank you, my friend, for being here.
You're welcome. And I actually had one last tip I forgot to say. Can I say it real fast?
Yes,
It was really
absolutely.
clear. So one thing I did recently, and I'm challenging my clients to do, is I recorded a daily affirmation on my phone. So you just go to your voice memos, and what you want to do is just grab a piece of paper, doesn't have to be fancy, and just write down everything, every belief that you have about yourself. So everything you maybe you don't believe yet, but you want to believe. So for me, it's certain things like I am healthy. I'm every day I'm getting more hormonally balanced. Every day God's guiding me on how to feed my body, how to move my body, who to speak to. Basically, breathe words of life over yourself. And it's amazing. If you hit play, it's like a 2 minute, mine's 3 minutes long, while you're brushing your teeth. It's amazing how you just start making choices that maybe you wouldn't have before, or you just start leaning in this direction that it doesn't feel like so much friction when you actually are hearing those words of life spoken over you every single morning. So that's just a little tip for the new year is, and let it be about, personal, unique to you, but write your own daily affirmation and go hit record because it's very powerful.
I think that's powerful hearing it in your own voice, but
Yeah.
it's also true because you're writing your own. You're not listening to somebody else's.
Right. There's so many meditations, but it's amazing. It's powerful when it's your own truth and your own words, like your own voice.
What a great way to end. Thank you so much, Laura, for
You're
being
so
here.
welcome. Thank you for having me.
And to all the listeners, make sure you nourish your entire life and give yourself grace today.